Well, hello, hello, hello. It is Tuesday night, and I hope that you are all right. It is time for the Ladies in Waiting Purpose in My Pen series. It is session 3. We are going full steam ahead for the entire month of November. We are highlighting kingdom authors who found purpose in their pen. So tonight we have another author that we are so excited to showcase, and I can't wait to get into my conversation with her. If you are new to me, if you are new to this program, I am Giselle Aline Clement. I am founder and community manager of the Ladies in Waiting group. Who are we? Well, we are a group of single Christian women who are strategically preparing ourselves for marriage and finding out our purpose in God as we wait on Him. It's a safe community. It's an awesome community where you have accountability, where you can be transparent, and where you can find real sisterhood. So we are finishing strong, and as part of our mandate and our commitment to finish 2021 strong, we are having this series all month of November. So, if you have never heard of us before, check us out. We will love to have you join us as we continue our forward movement into 2022. Well, before I bring my guest in, I like to tell you, share the live, start a watch party, call a sister, call another sister, send a text, a WhatsApp, a pigeon. I don't care. Tell them that Ladies in Waiting is on. It's time for the Purpose in My Pen series. Well, my guest tonight, I always say I love how God connects me to persons, and we were connected. If you view the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, I had the privilege of having her on the podcast, but tonight she's wearing another hat, and she's here as a kingdom author, and she's going to share her experience of writing a book that I know is going to transform the lives of singles. So without further ado, let's give a warm Trinidad and Tobago, a warm Ladies in Waiting welcome to Miracle Sims.
I'm back.
Awesome. Ooh. We're probably getting a bit of feedback. I think that's my excitement.
Yeah, there was a little bit of issues on my end. Well, earlier I couldn't hear you, so my apologies for that.
No problem. We're better now, yes.
Okay.
It sensed the excitement of the moment, so it wanted to join in. No worries. Miracle, welcome
Hello,
back.
I am back. Yes, I'm back.
She is back. And so, as I said, you are wearing another hat tonight, and I want you to tell us, before we get into the description of that, who is Miracle? For those who didn't see you on the Pearls of Wisdom podcast, tell us again, who is Miracle?
Well, Miracle Sims. I am an actress, entrepreneur, now author, and a wife, mom. I'm all those things. But I guess first I'm a child of God. I'm a child of God, and I'm just out here trying to just share my journey, share my testimony, in the hopes to shed some light in this dark world.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And I love how she puts it in there. I'm simply a child of God. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
simply a child of God. But there is nothing simple about Miracle. Complex woman of God, multi-dimensional woman of
Oh,
God. And so that's why I'm so excited to have her back, sharing another dimension, yes?
yes,
And so,
ma'am.
Miracle, the purpose in my pen series is a concept that, God gave me, of course, to really highlight kingdom authors. Part of your purpose you have found in writing. Many of us dream. I know that's something on my dream list to do as well. And so I'm always excited when someone else has done it and has accomplished that goal. And you write to women in general, yeah, but I get a bit extra excited when you write specifically to single Christian women. And so
Mm.
this series is about highlighting that and to show Christian women that there are resources. People, you are on the mind of God, and God is also putting others, in place to speak to you through their books. So tonight, again, welcome, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Good night to Jillian. Good night to Pamela and all those viewing. Thank you for coming on as we get into our conversation. Miracle, what started
Yeah.
you writing? Everyone has a story.
Ooh, what started me writing? Well,
Yes.
period. I think that my first experience with writing was like keeping my journals, keeping notes of like what was going on in my life. So that was, when did I start doing that? Maybe sixth grade, something like that. I started to kind of, write my thoughts down and, keep my memories and things like that. So I guess that alongside of like writing poetry and some little songs and all of that stuff was like my beginning stages of writing. Um, but I guess when it comes to this book in particular, this was written in my 20s.
Right.
And it was one of those things where I kind of was challenged to pick back up uh, keeping notes of my life again. The same thing about the diaries and whatnot. Because I want to say there were times where I kind of just took a break. I think maybe it was like after I graduated high school, all of college, I didn't really journal or keep a diary or anything. So
Yes.
yeah, I guess I got reintroduced to the idea based on a friend of mine and we were going to collab on this idea. And then lo and behold, this book is now a result of that. So yeah,
Okay,
that's a little bit
okay.
about my journey in
You're
writing.
beginning, but I heard something I wanted to jump back into, that there were periods of silence. Could we
Yes, ma'am.
deconstruct that a bit more? What caused those periods of silence, and then the
Mm.
reintroduction? I want to get to that after, but let's talk about the silent periods.
You know what? It could have been just being off track, right? That could have been because there that was a crossroads in my life, college, and I wrote about it in the book. That was like one of the crossroads that I came into where I had to make a choice. And
Yes.
those that get the book, I guess they'll see what the choice. Well, obviously you can see the results of the choice that I made, but you'll see exactly what that choice was when you read. But yeah, I want to say, yeah, me not keeping notes and things in college. I mean, yeah, I was focused on school and I was focused on, getting my degree in theater and all that stuff at that time as well. And you're doing homework and stuff. So I mean, perhaps there were other things that kept me from keeping those notes on my life at that time. But
Right.
um, I would say, ultimately looking back and knowing the choice I had to make during that time, I was off track, just off
Okay.
track.
And the reintroduction, what caused that? What was there a specific event, a specific person talking to you? What caused or pushed you,
To start
reintroduced
back.
you to start back writing? Yeah.
Well, okay, so what happened was
What had
one of my
happened
dear
was
friends, one of my really dear friends, her she goes by the name MD, or that's her nickname.
yes.
So I guess I'll just keep calling her that. I'll,
No
put all the
problem.
business out just in case, if she don't want that out. But basically, one of my dear friends that I met at the time after I graduated college and I moved to Florida, And like I think I was sharing with you last time that I saw myself surrounded by married people. Here I was single, and I had these married friends, and she was one of them. And at that time, we we noticed that we kind of were looking at each other's lives because I'm over there looking at her, and she's married, and I'm like, oh, you got a husband and all this stuff. This is great. And then she's looking at me. She's like, oh, you're single and you're doing your thing. You got your apartment. You got your job. All these different things. And so we're looking at each other's lives. And so, I mean, spoiler alert, I do have a little project that prayerfully one day I'm going to put out based on that.
Mm-hmm.
However, the the book, we were supposed to collab on a book. So she was going to write her perspective as a wife, right? And I was going to write
Right.
my perspective as a single woman. And that was the beginning stages of this.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was she never wrote her part. And I started to write, I was writing my part because I was just
Yes.
literally starting to keep notes about how I felt and,
Yes.
all those different things that I was experiencing at that time. And I kept like checking in with her and she never did write her part. I don't know if she ever wrote anything. But
Okay.
lo and
Wow.
behold, I wrote my part and I was like, well, I can still put my part out because I had a whole
Mm-hmm.
different title and everything. So I was like, I can just keep, put my part out. But I couldn't figure out at that time how to self-publish. I was looking into it, just really couldn't
Mm-hmm.
like put two and two together. And so,
Mm.
all these years later, I want to say that was when I was 22, 23, around that
Yes.
time. And so, um, eventually, like when I got all, I guess, the revelations that had came to me about being single and looking back in my life and all those different things, then,
Mm-hmm.
it left me with, again, the beginning stages of this book. It went through several different, like, I wouldn't say changes per se, but just kind of changes of perspective of like what it was going to be. Because first it was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be this comparison of the two,
Mm-hmm.
single woman, married woman. And then
Mm-hmm.
it became more so like, oh, this is going to be a guide for single women or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
single people or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the more over the years, what I realized was that I had somewhat of a mentor because it was I went back to really look at my life and
Mm-hmm.
try to figure out why was I the way I was and like
Yes.
why was I doing the things I was doing and all those things. And so that made me look back, right, as the word and everything tends to do, because I was building that as well during that time. And so took that look back at myself, got, I guess, the revelation or understanding of you know where I was and where I was headed if I continued that route. And
Yes.
so I did my best to make a different choice again. So I guess that was like maybe the second crossroad, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, After the one in college, then that was another crossroad there, and then uh, and yeah, here we are again years later, living and basking in all of the things that I was praying and hoping for at that time, and it's a blessing. It really is. So
Awesome. But I want to go down a rabbit hole based
hmm
on the concept that you spoke about. This project was supposed to be a collaboration.
yes,
Lenses, single woman,
hmm
married woman, and the different lenses. But I want to talk about that issue a bit and then we will come back to the book because it is a real issue for singles
yes,
that as a single woman, you are looking over the fence, as it were, to the
hmm
married life, and
yes,
you're longing and you're desiring and you're wanting that. But
hmm
there is always a story, I don't know if you heard it growing up, that the married women are doing the same thing,
yes,
looking
ma'am.
back over the fence and saying,
hmm
they don't know what I would give to go back to those days. Let's talk about that a bit. Do you think that's an issue still today for singles that we have to address and get some God perspective in that? What do you think?
Oh yes, ma'am. I totally agree. That's what it was back then for me and my friend. She again looking at my life and she's like, you're single, you get to do whatever you want to do, you get a da all this stuff. And I'm like, but you're married, you got somebody to cuddle with and all that stuff. And so I think I told you all before that I kind of had an issue with like paying attention to the present. And I was always like reaching for the future, like working on
Yeah.
like trying to the next thing and the next thing. And that's
Yes.
why this season right here is just so like is blowing my mind in a lot of ways because I'm really content. I'm really good. Like, for the first time in my life, I'm just like, I'm not necessarily reaching for anything. I mean, yeah, I got goals, but um, I'm good. If God just want me to do what I'm doing right now, I'm fine. But again, it took me a while to get there. So yeah, me as a single woman, I was often looking at her and looking at people that were dating and all that, and trying to figure out like, well, what is wrong with me, and why
Right.
am I not, getting to this next level? I see all these people around me getting to this next level, and where is my person and all that. So
Right.
yeah, so it was an issue then. I believe, yeah, it's still an issue now.
So
And
if I,
you're right, we need to get that God perspective about
And so I think you already started to give some strategies. Yeah, I heard you say that you had to learn to live in the moment, live in the
it.
present. So would that be some a piece of advice you would give to the singles listening to you who's looking over the fence, looking into the future and only desiring the future? Would you say to them, you know what, you need to take stock of the present and maximize the present? Is that something that you would tell single ladies today?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. It's in the book as well. I have this whole not checklist, but there's this list in it where it's like, every other word is wait. Like I have like statements, and then about like just random advice or advice that I receive, and then I'm like, wait, advice, wait, advice, wait. Like it's over and over again. But there's a reason for that, because at the end of the day, I had to tell myself that repeatedly to, just wait on God, allow Him to do His thing. I think I feel like I'm sorry. I feel like I've talked to you about all this already, so I'm not sure. But when I tell you how me and my husband met or whatever, the fact that the one time I waited, I was like, I'll try this thing again next year. I'm not even gonna look for love no more. I need to just work on me. Then here he comes. It's like, oh, and that's what people told me. They told me back in those days, what I call the cultivation period. They told me then, like, oh, well, when you stop looking and all that, that's when you'll find that person. And I'm like, but I was always looking. That was
Right.
my thing. I was always looking. And so, yeah, sometimes we got to just be patient. We got to live in the moment, you know, uh, understand that, hey, this is that special time for you and God, do some things that you want to do. Because, yeah, when I think back now, maybe I could have traveled more or something. Maybe I could have, done some things where, it's much more harder for me to do now as a wife and mom, so instead of just focusing so much on this time, I should have been taking notice of what I could do in that time. So
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Let's get
Wisdom
into the
should be
book.
scarce.
The Cultivation Period, a Singles Christian's Journey. You said the book went through many iterations because, okay, it was initially a collaboration, then it ended up being your thing, but even then it went through changes. How did you settle on this title? Were there other options for you?
Yes, so I had another title for the longest time. And it was going to be that, honestly, and that's where the theme comes in when it comes to, like, this lady in the field. She has all this grass that needs to be tended to, and look, she ain't got the tools she need. I don't know if you could see on the cover, but there, she told us some scissors. She can't do much with that. Um, so, um, so yeah, I did have another theme, but the funny thing is, what happened was, I want to say maybe a year or so ago, that concept that I shared with you all about me and my friend, um, God saw fit for me to put that into another project.
Right.
And so I named that project under that name. And so, um, and then I think that's when I started to realize, like, wait, this is more so like a memoir anyway. This isn't necessarily, you know, the original concept of looking on the other side or whatever. So knowing that I had the other project that is named the other name, I just was like, I need to find a new name for this, because when it's going to make sense to what it is versus what
Yes.
it was. And
Yes.
so the more I thought about it, I still wanted to stay in the theme of kind of like tending to your own, garden or whatever the case is, tending to your own grass, whatnot. And so the more I kind of researched and thought about it, the word cultivate kind of stood
Yes.
out in my mind. And eventually that's what led to me thinking about the cultivation period, because when I actually looked up the cultivation period, it does say the growing season, and that's literally what it was. And so, yeah, and I
Oh,
had to be specific because, again, I did kind of have in my mind at some point throughout the transition that it was going to be a guide for single people and da da da. It's not that because there's no clear cut, excuse me, no clear cut way to say that yes, this is how you do single life or whatever. Because everybody's experience is different.
yes.
So I say the single Christian's journey because it's literally my journey. It's what I went through and what I learned along the way. But what I hope is that by sharing my testimony and journey, that it can help you or whoever on their, on you all's journey and whatnot. Because again, even though yours may be different from mine, but there may be things that people can relate to that I
Awesome.
experienced, or like my mom said, things that people can learn from and not take the route that I did,
Yes.
and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, the cultivation period.
Right. So let's get into the cultivation period a bit. What are some of the issues or topics that this book addresses? What is the cultivation period? So you're saying when you did your research, it refers to a period of growth. What else?
Yeah.
Could you break that down for us so that we can go away with some nuggets about the cultivation period and how it applies to me today?
Well, I know that the back it kind of has a good example of what it means. So again, that the cultivation period itself is it says like in nature, the cultivation period is a growing or the growing season is the time of year when crops or other plants grow successfully. Um, so if I just think about that part, like one of my concepts throughout the process over the years, I was thinking it's going to be a guide to live successfully single. So when I guess it kind of put two and two together when I did find the definition because I was like, yeah, I was growing during that season. I was learning. I was doing my best to cultivate my own garden and where I was in my life to get to the point where I could live successfully single and wait on God to bless me with this next part of my life, which is now marriage and all that. So yeah, I mean that again, that's what the cultivation period means to me in that aspect. Again, the other concept is more so about like the grass being green on the other side. Like we look at other people's lives and we're thinking that they got it all together. I mean, somebody might look at me and be like, oh, she got it all together, X, Y, and Z. But well, one, I can stand here and say that no, I don't have it all together, right? And I didn't have it all together, throughout this cultivation period either. And and on the flip side, like you say, those that are they may be living the things that we want and want to have, but they still don't have it all together too. And sometimes some of the concepts or things that I saw during this time in my life was that, sometimes we may be looking at someone else's life, but we don't know the details. We don't know
Right.
uh, what it really is at the end of the day. Like someone can look perfect on the outside, but then their marriage could be terrible, or vice versa. Maybe sometimes people might not understand someone's relationship, but it could be the best relationship. And
Right.
so I think for me, it was more so what I needed at that time, even though I felt like I wanted my spouse and I needed him and all that. What I really needed at that time was to draw near to God and to get an understanding of where I was, who I was, and to get a good look at my life at that time. Again, and it blows my mind all the time. I think about it a lot these days. That when I think back on the different crossroads in my life or different choices that I made along the way, knowing that things would be just completely different, and I don't even know where I would be. We probably wouldn't even be talking right now at all,
Right.
just based on a couple of choices over the years. And so again, I mean, my son is a huge indicator of that. It's like he wouldn't even be here, like a whole life, a whole person. Like that blows my mind to think about often or whatever. And so, yeah, I had to take that look at myself and know that, hey, you got to make some changes. You got to do some things different. You need to learn, you need to grow because you're not ready for the things that you want. You want them, but that you're not ready for them. And I see that. I think I started to see it then and started to try to make the necessary changes for myself as well as hopefully to get the goal as well. Um, but Yeah, it was a combination of the two, but more so it was taking a look at my life, realizing where I was and where I was headed, and repenting, as they say, and
Right.
going God's way. So
So we're not leaving cultivation as yet because I love that metaphor. But we need to deconstruct it because you could tell me that you need to cultivate and I still don't know what are the steps. And I feel that is an issue for us when we speak to single people. We speak over their heads and we tell them, you need to cultivate during this period. And they're like, okay, but what are the steps? So, what I heard from you, you went through that period of self assessment, understanding what God is saying to you, but then you said, then you had to make some changes. So, could you give us a glimpse into some of the practical changes that you had to make? Because at the end of the day, I want to know that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing in the cultivation period. So, give us a glimpse, pull back that curtain a bit more for us. What were some of
yes,
those
ma'am.
changes you had to make?
Well, one of the main ones at that time was I realized that one of my issues that I was dealing with was fooling around. I didn't have sex, but I was kind of doing everything else.
We're pushing the
And
bar.
and so again, you try to find those loopholes as a Christian. You're like, well, it's not sex, so or well, but that was something that I needed to change because, well, one, you're not going to be fooling around in marriage, right? You're going to be with that one person. So why are you fooling around, right? Two, that does taint the experience of getting to know someone. Like you can get to know someone without that side, but unfortunately, I think for me, um, maybe I equated those things to be just a part of getting to know someone, a part of I guess a relationship in general. And so that's why, I mean, you guys are going to see in the book that, when I did end up in a relationship, it got kind of worse because it was like, okay, now
Right.
I'm doing more now, And so, yeah, you have to kind of, well, one, the word says that we should not be fornicating, and so, uh, I mean, yeah, we might think of the actual act of penetration, but I mean, I believe that it includes all of that because it does say even lusting after someone is going there. So,
Right.
I mean, so needless to say, touching and all whatever else could be happening is crossing a line as well. And so that was something I had to change. That was something that I had to say, you know what, I'm not gonna continue to do that. Now, obviously, again, I'm human. I can't say that I'm perfect or whatever the case is. However, I will say that I actively pursued attempting and trying my best to not cross certain lines, especially during this time, And so, um, yeah, there were,
Awesome.
guys that I was dealing with at the time, because that's the thing too. When you're single, right? You're like, oh, well, there's, no one's my boyfriend, so it's not cheating on anyone because nobody's, X, Y, and Z. But then it's like, okay, well, no one's official, so why are you again kissing or whatever you're doing? And so there were, relationships I kind of had to like kind of cut off and be like, okay, look, this is what I'm trying to do in my life now. I'm not trying to necessarily X, Y, and Z. And there were relationships I had to do like that. And then when I met new people, I was trying my best to be like, okay, let you know up front that this is what I'm trying to do here. And I'm not trying to,
Awesome.
I really just want to get to know you and not in the biblical sense, and all of that. And
Awesome.
so, and it was tough, it was a tough thing because, again, I think I've shared with you all before. I mean, y'all know about my show and everything. It's called GSL, I mean, these are things I thought about all the time. And so, of course, I was dealing with that because it's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm about safe to say words or whatever. I don't think it's too bad.
You're
um,
being
I
transparent.
was like, I'm a horny person. Like I was a horny person. And so, and I'm like trying to figure out what to do with that. Because I'm like, and I think that's what led me to go through this period. That's what led me to take a look at myself. Because I'm like, well, why am I like this? Like, why am I so rare to go? Like, why, Because again, it took me a long time to actually cross the threshold of sex, And so But even before that, I still was kind of like always craving that touch or craving that like experience. And so I'm like, why am I like this? And so that's why I had to take that look back and realize that okay, there were some seeds planted that needed to be uprooted. And I mean, it started there. And so and hey, here we are. I mean, I hope that gave a little bit of perspective of some of the. I mean, that was one of the main things. I mean, obviously there
Miracle.
was other things I had to do too because another turning point I would say is I met this
Let,
guy.
let me let me just
See me?
pause you there. Let me just pause you there.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
go too fast. I'm in a hallelujah moment right there,
Okay.
because just what you shared with us, Miracle, I believe broke some chains in the listener's mind this evening and shifted some concepts. Let me tell you why.
Hmm.
You said a lot there, and I'm going to share with you what you said again. The first thing, when you dealt with that issue, you had to make a change in terms of setting up boundaries. When we deal with singles, that's one of the things and the concerns that they have issues with. The boundaries that we need to set up, and that question of how far can I go without actually sinning? And we have to go
Right.
back to the Word of God, as you said. And God has clearly laid out a prescription for us. And so, as single ladies, we now take that prescription, and when we engage and enter into relationships, it is our responsibility. You said it from the get go. You would lay your stake. This is it. This is my boundary. And someone is listening to you this evening, Miracle, and they're having issues with establishing boundaries. If I establish a boundary, would he still like me? Would he say, is all of that necessary? These are real questions. So that's why I appreciate you sharing that. The second thing you showed us, ah, you asked yourself, why am I feeling this way? I don't know why you were scared to use the word horny.
I don't
Horny.
know.
Hey, we're sisters. We're talking amongst friends here. Because
I was
we
like,
feel
she don't
horny.
talk about she horny.
Oh, hey, let the Lord have his way. We're breaking chains tonight. So that's why
Yes,
you
sir.
were able to write about it, because it's a real thing, a real issue. And we can't pretend it away. We can't pretend that we're ostriches and we don't feel the feelings. And Christmas is coming, Miracle. And people are listening to you and they are feeling horny because it's Christmas and I'm still alone. So we're breaking that chain tonight again, and we're saying, recognize that you feel that way, but then don't stay there. Put things in place to protect yourself. And one more thing you shared, my God, and to me this was powerful, Miracle. You said that you had to realize when you look back that there were seeds planted. I wanted to run around, but I'm on stream, so I can't leave the stream and run around. They'll say, what's going on with Giselle?
Uh-oh.
The cultivation period. Powerful metaphor. So you have to look inward at the seeds that were planted in your life and what it is bringing forth that is negatively impacting your single walk right now and your single journey. So, Miracle, thank you, because I believe they are now understanding that in order to live successfully, we have to address things like these. So that alone, we could end right now, pick up the offering, say amen, because I believe that chains were broken with that testimony you shared with us. Thank you so much. Wow.
No problem. Look, I need to take you
Wow.
everywhere I go just to reiterate everything. My goodness.
Wow. Ooh. And so
Yes, ma'am.
the seed of the pen that God now used through you to write that book is to bring deliverance to singles as they cultivate themselves and they allow God, the original farmer, yeah, to cultivate himself in us as singles.
Mm. Yes, ma'am.
If you have
Here
just
we go.
joined us and you want to know what this crazy girl is going on about, this is Ladies in Waiting, where we prepare single Christian women to successfully and strategically prepare for marriage. And this series, Purpose in My Pen series, we're bringing kingdom authors. God used their pen as a weapon to develop singles in the kingdom. And Miracle did that and has done that with her book. Miracle, before the time goes, do you have a favorite portion, chapter, line in that book that you could share with us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think I want to start at the beginning here, right at the beginning, because I think it's going to give people an idea. Now, I'm not sure if I have time to read the whole prologue, but
You could just give
I
us a few
think,
lines and stop where you feel
yes.
led to stop, yes.
Hmm. Well, it, I would love to read the poem as well, though. So,
Well, take it away.
alrighty. Well, let me see. I'll start with the poem, and if I have a few more minutes, then I'll read the prologue. Here we go. My poem is called "The Black Woman's Prince Charming." How come when it comes to love and fairy tales, to the Black woman, it seems to be just that, a dream? Make believe, thoughts so far fetched, things too impossible to be true. Where's the Black woman's Prince Charming? Is that dream too good to be true? Is it in vain to look for a man who is loving, respectful, and understanding of his woman's wants and needs? Is there a man out there for her that can appeal to her spiritually, emotionally, and physically? Is she expecting too much if she wants this fairy tale man? Have all her prospects become so focused on sex and or each other to be the king that she so desperately wants and needs for him to be? Does she have to lower her standards to the and the value of herself to find what most women hold on to as love, but is a weak substitute involving only the physical aspect of what she hopes to become a lasting relationship? There must be someone out there for her because she knows that all men aren't the same. Well, she has faith and hopes that all men aren't the same. However, if there isn't any proof of this around her, then is she waiting in that tall, lonely tower in vain? Will she ever be awakened from her everlasting sleep? If I could read a bit of the prologue, this is what it says. When I look back over my life and I think things over, I realize that I have it pretty good. Fantastic, even. I am 23 with an apartment, job, career goals, no kids, no diseases, and no man. For the most part of my life, I have been without a significant other. Not many boyfriends, but more than a few casual hookups or situations, I call them. On one hand, I am embarrassed to think of the number, but for the record, I have only had sex once, which means that my situations only included foreplay. And when it comes to that, let's just say my lovers have spoiled me. I know it may be hard to believe that I have somehow gotten away with being pleased with little to no reciprocation, but hey, c'est la vie. Well, that's my life anyway. However, that is beside the point. The point is, at the end of the day, hookup situations are not what I want. I want marriage. I want love. And I want a relationship. On one hand, I may want all these things for the wrong reason. Sex. Yeah, this little Christian woman thinks about sex all the time. It is the main reason I end up in the situations to begin with. Even though I have been able to control myself to a certain extent thus far, it does not stop me from wanting it again later. Maybe I just want to feel connected to someone, or maybe I just have a problem. Either way, I am trying to control it even more than I ever had before. I am trying to wait to find that special man to fulfill my wildest fantasies, but it all seems to be just that, a fantasy. It seems that the pickings are slim, and the more I grow and learn every day, the higher my standards are becoming. Uh, I think I probably should stop there. um, because yeah, I was
Wow.
thinking that it was gonna,
That's okay.
but I think it's at the end
Wow.
there. So yeah, I guess I'll stop there. Y'all, that's a little bit of the prologue, y'all.
Miracle, I don't know if you believe me, but I'm going to say this again. Tonight's sharing and what you just read, especially the part in the prologue, I thank you for being obedient to God and writing that, because someone needs to read that and understand what they're going through, but also understand the conclusion you came to. A hookup is not what I want. That is not God's plan for me. Also, you didn't allow yourself to drown in guilt and shame. You did what you had to do, got yourself in alignment with God's plan, and now you're, as you said, I love the word you use, you're basking in what He has done in your life. Your son blows your mind, but you wrote it, and that's your testimony, Miracle. I hope you believe me when I say thank you, that that book, that just that what I heard there has caused deliverance to us this evening. I bless God for you. Awesome.
Thank you, thank you.
Awesome. Whew, wow, wow. No miracles, because we live in shame,
Yes, we
and
do.
we live with the secrets, and we think we can't share it with anyone.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
God allowed you to write your experience. And that book, when it goes throughout the world and it reaches in the hand of a single Christian struggling with that issue, deliverance will come. I declare it. Deliverance will come. My
Pray so. I
goodness.
pray so. Because I think that's, again, with all the content and things that I'm creating these days. I think I have a heart for single people. Obviously, it's what I went through.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
hard, you know. And again, not knowing what to do with all those thoughts and stuff. So it was good to have that outlet at the time, because it
Yes.
allowed me to. Because again, there was other things I needed to change as well at that time,
Yes.
and so it allowed me to have something else to focus on. You know, let me just write down my thoughts. Then let me just write down what
Yes.
I'm going through, versus like
Wow.
trying to handle it in a different way. You know, and so
Yes.
um, yeah, I mean, it's a blessing. Like I said, it's a blessing to be here and to, be talking to you and sharing about this and everything like that. Like I said, I do have a heart for single people, and I hope that it does, encourage and inspire them to just wait on God. He's, if it's on your heart and mind to be married, then I believe that it's, God's will for you, right? And so I say, well, what can you do to get there? Like, just like with the,
Okay.
like we were talking about last time, obviously, there's things that you can do to get to that place. You might look at yourself and notice that, okay, you know what? Wait, maybe I'm not, like you say, in alignment towards marriage. Because what I was finding was I was in alignment towards something else. I wasn't headed towards
Wow.
marriage. I was headed toward, you know, I guess a not so good end or whatever, depending on how people look at it and stuff. I knew I didn't want to stay there. I knew I didn't want to continue to be doing what I was doing, and like I said, meaningless hookups and all those things. I knew what I ultimately wanted, and so again, I had to make those changes to get it. And I do see, there's women out there struggling with that. Some people don't want to change, and I think this is one of my pet peeves, to hear the whole I don't have to change, or I'm not changing, or I can't change or whatever. I'm like, Yeah, you can, because with God you can do anything, and I have
Yes.
several examples in my life, me changing in a lot of ways. So,
Yes.
um,
Another
I
thing
think
I
it's
heard
better for
you
people to
say.
just, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I think it's better for people to just admit that you don't want to change and then stop lying. Like stop lying on God, stop saying you can't
Yeah.
do it because you can, you just don't want
Yes.
to. And
Okay.
but that's the pulp in this conversation. That's what I call the pulp things we don't like.
No, I was just going to say something I heard you say.
Mhm.
Sometimes we settle for different routes. So the
Mhm.
hookup is a route. But then you had to come to that place where you realize this is not the real thing. This is not
Yes,
in
ma'am.
alignment. I mean, it will give me a level of pleasure and satisfaction, but this is not the pathway that God intended for me. And someone is listening to you tonight, and they're going through many different pathways trying to
Mhm.
find the real thing. But as you're saying, some don't want to change, some don't know how to change, but it is possible to stop
Okay.
and say, okay, let me get on the right pathway. And I think
And sometimes
that's your heart. I'm
I hate to say
hearing
that it's
that.
simple, but sometimes it is just as simple as changing your mind about whatever it is.
Yeah.
It is that simple. Um, and I know it sounds and don't get me wrong, like when I was going through all of this wasn't the easiest thing because
Of
even when I was
course,
in the midst of it,
yes.
I just was like, why am I doing this? Like you get all the things in your mind trying to steer you back on the path that you were on, and there was a
Yes.
lot of things went through my mind at the time, like why am I doing this? I'm the only one thinking about this. Nobody else my age or whatever is thinking
They're
about
just
this.
living,
Like, why are you
yeah.
living this way? Everybody else can do it and everything like that. And
Yes.
so it was hard. It was hard, but I had to, well, that's why I said we need to take every thought captive.
Yes. You made the word alive. You worked the word. You said what the word said, and you did what the word did, and it helped you. And so sometimes it's really that simple. We make it seem as if it's but sometimes it's just, hey, a decision. God doesn't take the decision making power away from us because He still gives us that choice. And sometimes we just have to make that choice. Miracle, the time has gone. I could stay here another hour with you because I don't know. This
Oh,
is a different session for me. I really feel that sense of deliverance with what you have shared, and especially with your testimony tonight, that the chains that singles they are still bound with, they got their measure of deliverance tonight. And so again, I thank you. But what can you tell us? Final words, closing words about cultivating the cultivation period, a single Christian's journey. What would you tell us?
well, I think the main thing I want people to remember is that choices are life changing. That's a phrase that I heard back in my young days that I see around me every day now. Choices are truly life changing. Like I told you guys earlier, knowing that a couple of choices, my son wouldn't be here. Like I don't know if y'all understand. That blows my mind to think about. Even how he was conceived was kind of funny, but that still blows my mind that there still was choices that had to be made at that time.
Yes.
And so all those things matter. And so at the end of the day, you will see more and more, like if you choose to trust God, then you're going to see Him work. Um, that's what I'm living in now, even more so probably than during this time. I'm literally living by faith right now. Just and then it's amazing watching God move and just do so many, like they say, miraculous things in my life. And so, um, you know, I'm not gonna say. uh, I hate to be one of those doom and gloom people, but I mean, you just never know when it comes to choices or whatnot, like what's going to be like the choice or the choice that you can't come back from. So at the end of the day, try your best to do God's will. Try your best to just follow what the word says and everything like that. Because yeah, you can fall and get back up, fall and get back up, but you never know. So I wouldn't be playing around with, oh well, I can keep falling and get back up, because I mean technically the words say there's no more sacrifice for sins when you know the truth and you know what to do and you keep on doing it. So at some point it's going to catch up. And so I just thank and praise God that I was able to go through my cultivation period and get to this side, and to be able to even share with you all my testimony on today.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I hope you guys get the book. I hope you all enjoy it. And I hope that it encourages and inspires more than anything. Like, I hope that people that were in my place or, are in this place now where they're feeling like, I want what I want and all those different things that I was feeling. I hope that, if you get the book, that you will be encouraged and inspired by it.
Awesome.
Technically, it is available for free on Amazon for people that have it's Kindle Unlimited. So, I mean, if you have Kindle Unlimited, go and read it. Go read it for free. And I've thought about that as well. I was like, I do feel strongly about this message, so much so that it's like, I'll just give you a book, if it's going to encourage and inspire you. I mean, yeah, I'm in a place where I need or whatever, or this is a source of income and everything, but I just feel like because of what I went through and not having many resources at that time, I just, if it is going to help somebody, I mean, hey, by all means,
Awesome.
Kindle Unlimited people,
Yes.
go and check it out for free if you got to.
But if we want the
if
paperback,
you're really, really desperate, hey, and this is something I'm saying here on tonight, and email me or whatever, and maybe I'll just send you the digital copy or something, like, because I do hope that it encourages people.
and I'm sure it will. But for those of us who love the paperback, the feel and the smell of books, is it also available via Amazon, the paperback?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
Amazon, it is on Amazon. I'm not sure if it's on the other platforms right now. So more
But
so
for
on
sure, Amazon.
Amazon.
Awesome.
Yeah, all of the books.
Awesome. So in terms of writing, Miracle, what's next for you? Are you able to share or give us a sneak peek into the future? Should I?
Well, like I said, I did share with you all that the concept that I worked on. I guess I'll give you guys some tea. Y'all want a little tea?
Just a little tea.
So basically, the concept between the two women looking at each other's lives.
Yes.
I think I got a little script together based on that. So
It's coming.
we'll see what the Lord do. But so that's one thing.
Awesome.
I mean, you guys know that I have other books and things out there. Another thing that I strongly stand by is the juice, the Bible study journal. If you're having challenged yourself to do daily Bible study, try for 30 days. Yeah, you can get the juice journal and do it, but you can do it on whatever you want as well.
Yes.
But
so that's
I do
coming.
have other books that are out there right now, but I might be working on a children's book soon.
Ooh!
I kind of got people voting about it and trying to think about that. So some things are.
Don't tell us everything. But I'm excited. I am excited. So, people, I have my copy of the Cultivation Period. So, you need to go out and get your copy. As I tell you, the kingdom of God is full, chock full of resources. Get yours today. So, Miracle, we have to go. We have to end. But I truly enjoyed our conversation. My best part is your testimony. I think that was a shift even for me. I felt that deep down in my deep down. And I bless God for you. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for chatting with the ladies in waiting. And God bless you until next time we see.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. Awesome. So, folks, I don't know if you feel what I feel, but I know we had a shift tonight. You see, this series is not just to speak about a book, it's purpose in my pen. All these authors tapped into God, and God gave them a message to write. Yes, they are modern day messengers, and they wrote their message to bring deliverance and transformation to you, the single Christian woman. So I hope you caught that message tonight from Miracle. I want to encourage you, go out, get these resources, find them, and start applying them to your journey. Stay tuned for our next author. We continue on next Tuesday for the Purpose in My Pen series. Until then, I want to end with a quote from Miracle. She said, "Choices are life-changing." So what choice will you make today? Make the right choice. God bless you, ladies in waiting. Stay real, real good. Bye.